I'm Hervé Van Laethem. Today we have three guests. First, Hassan Sakr, head of Foreign Affairs of the Syrian Social Nationalist Party. Welcome, Hassan.
Thank you.
Roberto Fiore, chairman of the Alliance for Peace and Freedom. Welcome. And Udo Voigt, member of European Parliament for the NPD. Welcome.
Hi, Evan.
My first question is for Roberto. Today you meet people of Syrian Social Nationalist Party. Why a European party like APF need to meet a Syrian party?
Well, the name of this party is Alliance for Peace and Freedom. We have two situations of war. One is a political war that the establishment and the lobbies are trying to create between Europe and Russia, assuming that Russia is not Europe. But the other, the real war, not just political, but military war, is the one in Syria. And in order to establish what you have to do, you have to go there. And for me, it has been I've been there for 3 times, and I have seen what's happening. I've seen the forces in camp, and I understand that there is an assault, an attack on Syria, which has been launched fundamentally by a sort of terrorist organization, terrorist state, if we want to call it, Daesh, IS. But what is extraordinary is that this terrorist state, and this is one of probably the first case in history, has been helped by a number of very powerful countries. I mean, the evidence that Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Israel are helping the Daesh and the Islamic State as very strong. So we establish what the truth is. We establish that there is a people fighting for its freedom. And Europe has to support this not just for an idealistic cause, but because the war will be coming into Europe if the terrorism is not stopped there. And it's a fact that we have been saying this for now 3 years. Now it's happening. But thanks God there is a number of forces that are helping the Syrian people, Russia, Putin, Hezbollah, Iran, but the Syrian army is the strongest element in this picture. And the SSNP is a party that is loyal to the Syrian people more than the regime. It's a party that's got a history, and doctrinarian affinity to us, and at the moment the task, the objectives are the same, to fight this terrorist threat that is actually attacking Syria at the moment, but will be spreading in Europe. So this is, in 2 words, the reason for today, for which we are meeting today, an important figure of the SSNP.
Hassan, you are a member of a Syrian Nationalist Party, but you come from Lebanon. So could you explain what's SSNP and what's not the history, but the goal of the SSNP?
SSNP is Syrian Social National Party. It's a pan-Levant party. So we are present in Lebanon, in Syria, in Jordan, in Iraq, and in Palestine. This is so-called Fertile Crescent, Levant, or Syria, natural Syria. This is a nation that was divided in the early 1920s by Western powers after the World War I. And it's in our belief to reunite this nation. We are a secular party, we are a democratic party. Our party is now, basically I'm Lebanese, and we have MPs in Lebanon, we have MPs in Syria, we have MPs in Jordan. We are a popular party, we have popular grounds, we have our strongholds in all those countries. We have presence all over the world, we have our own nucleuses all over the world. Our party is now participating in the war in Syria. We are participating against ISIS, even though we don't have an army, but we found ourselves in the middle of the war. So when you have your people being attacked, you have to react for this aggression, and here we are defending our people.
Udo, you went 2 times in Syria. You come back since some weeks ago from a second trip in Syria. What's your feeling about this trip, about the country, about the changing between the two visits?
There are many questions, but first of all, since 1 year, a lot of things are changed in Syria. Because my first impression was a depressive atmosphere 1 year ago. And now, after the Russians support the Syrian Arabic army, the army is successful and gets back the country step by step. And you don't have fights in suburbs of Damascus. And somebody in mass media asked me, how is the situation in Syria now? It is war, can you stay there safe? And I told them I felt much more safe in Damascus than in Berlin. Because in Damascus nobody knows Udo Voigt. In Berlin also communists know where I am. But no, it was true, it was a really safe situation. And it was a situation, the restaurants in the evening were full. Traffic during rush hour was many cars in the street. And you saw people on party, you saw people shopping in the streets, in the bazaars. And I think the life is coming back to Damascus. And what very important is, the people feel that they have a new chance. And before the Americans brought the war to Syria to destroy the society, to bring the bombs, to bring the gender politic to Syria, they destroy the family, and now they feel we are well saved. And I think for me it was a better situation now than in Germany, and there are many areas in Syria where you can live free. And if I compare it with the situations that Merkel now will pay for the migrants of Syria to stay in Turkey, 3 billion of euros. I think it would much better to give the government of Syria the 3 billion to bring it to the people from Syria to stay in Syria, because there is no reason you can be safe today in Syria, you can be safe lives there, and you will have a future. And if you get the same money, then you have a possibility for a new life for your family in Syria.
Thank you. Hassan, why is it important for you to be today in the European Parliament?
Well, basically, European Parliament is one of the very few places in the world where the decisions are being made for and that are related to our nation. European Parliament has put sanctions on Syria. European Parliament is donating money to the Turks and to some other powers who are exercising aggression against our nation. So we think that we should be talking to the European people, we should be talking to the European politicians, we should be present in this place to spread the word that what's happening in Syria is terrorism. It's not an Arab Spring. What's happening in Syria is being supported by Western European and European governments. They are supporting the terrorism, be it directly or indirectly. We think that the Europeans now could, and they still have the time to change the direction before it's too late. Before it's too late on us and on them. Because if you keep on flying immigrants out of Syria to Europe, to utilize them in the future in the elections. Because as you know, in the last meeting in Geneva, it was put on the table that the immigrants should have the right to vote. And we know if the immigrants are going to vote they're going to be influenced by the donors, then they will vote against Bashar al-Assad and against the government in Syria. So instead of paying all of this money to bring those people here to make them vote, we could, in Syria, you could do internal movement, internal relocation from one area to another, donate this money to the Syrian government, and you can provide them with a decent life. So we think that we should talk to the European officials, and we believe that Europe has historical ties with our nation. We are across the Mediterranean, the west and the east sides of the Mediterranean, and we are very much influenced by each other. We have so many historical ties, and we could utilize this historical ties for our both futures instead of supporting terrorism.
You speak just about supporting terrorism. Alliance for Peace and Freedom made last year a campaign against Saudi Arabia. We named Saudi Arabia godfather of terrorism. Were we correct? Is Saudi Arabia godfather of terrorism?
Well, it's not a secret anymore that all of those terrorist doctrines are resulting from the Wahhabist ideology. And the Wahhabist ideology is prevailing in Saudi Arabia. And this is where most of the terrorists are coming from. If you remember, on 11th of September, most of those people who did the attack in New York were mostly Saudis. I'm not saying that the Saudi government were affiliated to this, but for sure this culture, this doctrine was the drive behind those terrorist attacks. And now if you look at what's happening in Syria, you would see that Nusra, ISIS are supported openly by the Saudis. The foreign minister of Saudi was saying openly, day and night, if Bashar al-Assad doesn't step down, then we'll keep on supporting the rebels. He calls them the rebels. But we all know that they are terrorists. So this means that the Saudis are supporting terrorism. So if they are supporting terrorism, you could call them the godfather of the terrorism, you could call them whatever you want. But at the end of the day, it's obvious that the Saudis are supporting terrorism for political causes and for political interests. They're not, for sure, they're not supporting ISIS for religious purposes. You don't support killers for religious reasons.
Roberto, so everybody agree that Saudi Arabia is a big problem with terrorism question. What could do the European countries against Saudi Arabia?
We are doing continuously education and political work to alert European people for this. I was just 2 days ago, Saturday, 3 days ago, I was in the middle of Sicily, where the Saudi Arabians are in fact investing a lot of money to create Islamic center, mosques and campus, university campus. And I just remembered and reminded to the people and the press there what the Mufti of Damascus said to me. He says, any mosque with the money of the Saudi or the Wahhabis is a time bomb. And I told them what I was told by a Muslim, that these people are not interested in spreading a faith, are just interested to radicalize their own people and to push them against our countries. It is a fact that they've been doing this for many years in my country, in Italy, with the opening of many centers, with the creation, together with Muslim Brotherhood, which is present in Italy, the creation of a more radical side of Islam that is prepared to do more than just talking. Just a few days ago, there has been a number of Italian Muslims being arrested because the intelligence says that they were actually helping networks of terrorists to actually do something in Italy. So the alert is very serious. Unfortunately, the public domain, it doesn't seem to be affected, doesn't seem to be so worried, but we are shouting quite loud that these people are actually very organized and inspired by the Wahhabis and the Saudi in order to create chaos in Europe. And this would be an extraordinary follow-up to the Syrian war. So the strategical intention for Europeans should be to stop the terrorist war in Syria in order to stop the attacks in Europe.
Udo, you are a member of European Parliament. I'm asking something about another topic. Today was a very special day in European Parliament after the Brexit. Could you say your feeling about this?
My feeling is that the sun is coming back to Europe because nations are fighting for the freedom, and now with the Brexit it starts and it opened the door for a new Europe, for the freedom of nations, for the sovereignty of nations, and I'm sure the United Kingdom will not the last country who leaves the European Union. The European Union of capitalism, this kind of European Union is a union with banks, with internationalism, should have no futures. We are not against Europe, but we want a Europe of free nations, and now we're going step by step to this way, and the British people, the nation, opened the door for a new Europe.
Thank you. Roberto, thank you. Udo, thank you. Hassan, thank you that you came here, and please bring greetings of patriots of Europe to your country and to your people in Lebanon, in Syria, in Jordan, and in all the region. Thank you, everybody. Till the next time. Thanks.